Hello, everybody, and welcome to the start of the 2020-2021 season for the Fantasy Football League of the Illinois Idiots. Yep, this series is making its comeback this year. I want to kind of explain what happened last year real quick. So what happened last year is I got 7 weeks in, and around week 4, I started getting these copyright claims being struck onto my profile. And this guy was claiming that I had stolen his content and all this other stuff, and it was kind of a weird time, a ridiculous claim that was going on. So I decided to kind of cut that off at that point and just kind of, talk to YouTube, try to figure out what was going on and everything. And by the time the matter was resolved, unfortunately, it was the end of the season. So I'm going to do a quick recap of last year's league and kind of some of the stuff that's leading up because we have our draft at the time of recording it 6 days, 18 hours, and 11 minutes from now. So we'll go over last year, we'll go over kind of some of the keepers for this year, and we'll go over the draft order for this year as well. And we'll look forward to next week. Hopefully on Sunday I will kind of show who drafted, what the teams look like after the initial draft and the initial trade frenzy after the draft, and we'll go from there. But I'm glad to be back, and I'm hoping that we can do a full season of this year. So the first thing we'll do is we'll take a look at what happened with the top finishers of last year. So in third place, it ended up being Phil Rivers' Child Army. In second place, it was Mr. Steal Your Girly, and the eventual winner of the Illinois Idiots of the 2019-2020 season was the Green Bay Pack Attack. And the full standings take a look like this. As you can see at the top is the Green Bay Pack Attack. Then you got the Mr. Steal Your Girly, Philip Rivers Child Army, Team the Old Goat at 4th, Slopping My Cobb at 5th, Effingham Titans, 2 in the pink, 1 in the stink, Massive Chubb from McCaffrey, as he was known last year. He's changed his name for this year. First and Ben, the Rain City Bitch Pigeons, Deshaun of the Dead, and rounding it all out was the Toledo Woodpeckers. So that's how that season ended up going. I'm going to take a second now and tell you about kind of how we do the draft. We do it like a lottery format. Woodpeckers had the most people in there. Deshaun of the Dead had the second most. Rain City Bitch Pigeons, First and Ben were then tied for who had the most after that. So we ended up doing a draft order, and it looks something like this. So you have First and Ben going first, with the Toledo Woodpeckers picking second, Deshaun of the Dead picking third, I'm picking fourth with the Rain City Bitch Pigeons, Beer Bong and Barkley's, formerly known as Massive Chubb from McCaffrey. You got 2 in the pink, 1 in the stink. You have the Charleston Titans now, not the Effingham Titans. Slobbing My Cobb, Team the Old Goat, Philip Rivers Child Army, Mr. Steal Your Girly, and I told him I would say this, and your defending champions, the Green Bay Pack Attack. So that's where we're currently looking at with the draft order. It is a snake draft, so it will inverse for that and keep going after that. And so now we're going to take a look at some keepers. Currently, I, as Rain City Bitch Pigeons, have Tyreek Hill as my keeper, and I'll take a second to talk about my pick because I'm the only one that can hear right now to kind of defend his keeper. I was torn between Tyreek or Dalvin Cook, and for me it was a lot harder of a pick because I'm just like, man, Tyreek is going to get a lot of points and everything, but he was injured last year, but then also Dalvin Cook has been injured a lot as well. But for me it was more of who could I possibly get back at the 4th overall pick. I felt like I could probably get Cook more at 4 than the chance of me possibly getting Tyreek at 4. So that was my selection as a keeper. Now we move on to Beer Bongs and Barkley's keeper. He decided to select Saquon Barkley. It's a pretty solid pick. He's going to be another stud out there in New York. I know they don't have a whole lot of weapons, but with talent like that, it's just going to be so hard to stop him in general. Next, we'll move on to 2 in the pink, 1 in the stinks, and they're deciding to select Travis Kelce. Obviously, he's one of the highest tight ends that you can get in that high-paced Kansas City offense. I'm hoping that Tyreek ends up doing better than Travis Kelce because, well, it's my pick as a keeper for Tyreek. Now we can move on to Slob My Cobb, who hasn't, as you can see, selected a keeper yet at the time of recording. They've been updated to kind of let know that, hey, you need to select one. When I talked to them at one point, they were talking about who they wanted to keep. They were talking about wanting to keep Derrick Henry, which would be a fine selection to keep. But they've also got Julio Jones and Jarvis Landry out there. I know personally if it was me, and I know I shouldn't say this before the draft, but I'm going to say it anyway for just purposes, I would select Julio Jones. I think he's going to be a better overall keeper than Derrick Henry is. While Derrick Henry is going to be an outstanding keeper for somebody, I feel like Julio, even after having a bad year last year, is going to have a bounce back year this year. But so much is still to be decided on Slobbing My Cobb's pick here, and you'll find out next week who he decided to keep and go from there. So now we move on to Team the Old Go, and again, they don't have a keeper selected either. They have it narrowed down to three people of Nick Chubb, DJ Chark Jr., and Mark Andrews. For me personally, this is a hard one, I wouldn't go with Nick Chubb. I feel like it's going to be hard for him to split time with Kareem Hunt. So now you're looking at DJ Chalk Jr. or Mark Andrews. It's going to be hard to tell what's going on in Jacksonville with everything that's going on there. So to me personally, I would say Mark Andrews is probably the best pick to play here. So next we move on to the Charleston Titans. They have decided to select Ezekiel Elliott. Again, consistent top running back in the league. PPR league, of course, but where wide receivers are premium, but really good running backs are, in my opinion, even a higher premium. So then we move on to First and Ben. They've selected Michael Thomas, obviously one of the top receivers in the game currently. Not going to be a hard pick right there. Now we move on to Philip Rivers' Child Army, and they select Cooper Kupp, not Connor Kupp. I got roasted all year last year for kept saying Connor Kupp, but this is Cooper Kupp. They select him. It's not a bad pick. I was looking at Philip Rivers' Child Army. Probably the best player he could probably keep at that team. Be interested to see how he does for the Rams this year. So now we move on to your defending champions in the Green Bay Pack Attack. They're keeping Devontae Adams. Love for the Packers will carry over. He was torn between Devontae Adams or Aaron Jones at one point, but I think Adams is probably the clear pick here. One of the top receivers when having Aaron Rodgers throw to you and everything. It's going to be a pretty good year for him as well again. Next, we move on to Mr. Steer Gurley, and there's a trade that happened. He ended up getting Lamar Jackson, and that's who his keeper will be. Not a bad keeper. Only quarterback being kept as a keeper at this time. I think it's a little bit of a risk because you never know when the EA curse is going to come and bite, or sophomore slumps or anything like that, or is the league going to figure him out? Still, at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to be a bad pick for him. Lamar is a bit of a stud. He's a dual threat, so now it's just a matter of hoping EA curse doesn't come and bite him in the butt. Next, we have Deshaun of the Dead, and they're keeping the multi-threat running back out of Carolina, Christian McCaffrey. He's projected to go number one in a lot of places, so if you can keep the number one player on your team in Christian McCaffrey, then you're doing something pretty good right there. So that wouldn't be a hard pick at all on keeping McCaffrey. Next, we move to the Toledo Woodpeckers as our final keeper here, and he is choosing DeAndre Hopkins, now out of Arizona. I think Hopkins is going to thrive out there. I think Hopkins will be probably one of the top receivers in the league because they're doing an air raid style offense out there in Arizona. So right there isn't a bad pick either. So currently that's all the updates I can give you guys right now. I'm hoping that I can keep the series going all year this year. I'll keep you guys updated. I'm going to try and make this a weekly thing. So we'll have next week will be the draft. And I believe after that we'll start the week one predictions video and everything. So I'm looking very forward to that because it's something I always enjoy doing. So let me know who you think has the best name in the comments, please, because I want to try and get more interaction with people. Obviously, of course, I'm trying to get the channel to grow and everything. So, of course, don't be afraid to tell people and everything. Like I said, let me know who you think has the best keeper out of everyone there. Let me know who you think has the best name, and just give me your thoughts and opinions on what you look forward to on the Illinois Idiots. And thank you for listening, and don't forget, JAT is where it's at.